A very good evening to all of you, and welcome to today's weekly market presentation of SC Securities. I'm looking forward to give you some insights regarding what happened during the market to the stock market this week, and some insights regarding Sri Lankan economy, and of course some news and highlights from the global commodity market front and the financial market front as well. Looking at what happened in Colombo Stock Exchange for this week, market gained a positive and a fresh start from the previous week and continued the positive momentum during last Friday's trading session. So, as accordingly, with the expectations for fulfillment of some of the basic needs, investors were look forward positively and they were expect a kind of a better stabilization in Sri Lankan political situation. With that market, the SPI managed to gain 68 points during Monday's trading session to close higher at 7,536.61, whereas S&P SL 20 index also gained 22 points to close at 2,423.08. So the same positive momentum up to an extent could have been witnessed up to Thursday's trading session. And the investors were very keen to know who is going to be appointed as the 8th executive president in Sri Lanka as of parliament votes. Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe appointed as Sri Lanka's 8th executive president upon parliamentary votes on last Wednesday, that means 20th July. Investors were looking forward for a better stabilization in the Sri Lankan political context, and with that, they continue to act positively. So, up until Thursday's trading session, SPI managed to stay higher at 7,736.37, whereas S&P SL 20 index gained until Wednesday, but resulted some kind of a decline during Thursday's trading session by losing 0.14 points just to close at 2,477.67. But however, the positivity that could have been witnessed throughout the first 4 trading days of the week was somewhat hammered during Friday's trading session. That was because of the sudden and a shocked violent attack on Gall Face peaceful protesters. This was made kind of a negativity on market sentiment. So both the indices declined during Friday's trading session. If we have a slight look at the turnover levels for this week, turnover managed to range in between 1.4 billion to 1.3 billion throughout the 4 trading sessions. But during Friday's trading session, the turnover declined to 867 million. That was denoted to be the lowest amount reported throughout the week. But anyhow, foreigners continued to purchase, and they managed to report a net inflow of 253 million. And when we look at the overall performance of SPI and S&P SL 20 index throughout the week, SPI gained by 3.40% for the second straight and led to second straight weekly gain. And S&P SL 20 index also gained by 2.58% for another straight session. So looking at the treasury yields for this week, after a couple of straight increase, the treasury yield declined during this week's auction. So as accordingly, now the 3-month treasury yield stood at 31.50%, and that declined by 61 basis points from its previous yield, and 6-month yield now stand at 29.97% and reduced 104 basis points from its previous yield of 31.01%, and 12-month yield is currently standing at 29.82% and reduced 5 basis points from its previous yield of 29.87%. So throughout the week, the rupee somewhat depreciated against USD, GBP, and EUR, and also Japanese yen. Especially during this week, the dollar was somewhat declined, but uh, during the Friday's trading session, the Friday it was somewhat eased. And if we have a look at the economic highlights for this week, the National Consumer Price Index based headline inflation of the country said to have increased to 58.9% for the month June on year basis, and that was over 45.3% that was reported during the month of May. So the reported surge in inflation was attributable to both food and non-food categories, whereas food inflation on year basis has increased to 75.8% from 58 point in the month of May, and non-food inflation also surged up to 43.6% from 34.2% from the month May. So monthly change of NCPI is recorded to be an amount of 10.91%. So given the circumstances, we can expect the inflation to increase furthermore in the upcoming future. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka's overall public debt said to have increased to 21.6 trillion rupees. And if we mention it as a percentage of the GDP, that was close to 120%. So out of it, 10% of GDP is accountable for foreign debt. So the said increase was due to monetary authority borrowing money to finance imports and debt repayments after unprecedented amount of money printing. As you all know, debt restructuring and ensuring a country's debt sustainability will be a vital factor for us to obtain IMF loan. So the increase in debt is a crucial factor for Sri Lanka, and the authorities should pay a kind and considerable attention regarding the public outstanding debt. And moreover, with respect to the Sri Lanka's prevailing macroeconomic challenges and also some requests from the government side stakeholder parties, the central bank has decided to extend the concession period to borrowers by another 6 months whose income schemes are negatively affected by the pandemic and the current economic instability. So, in regarding the giving of this concession, each case will be individually reviewed, and CBSL has already issued a declaration on this to all licensed banks. So the debt moratorium period will be further extended by 6 months, so the borrowers can get some kind of a relief with this. So looking at So looking at the global commodity market front, oil prices came back on the track and reported a weekly gain that was due to supply tightness and some of the geopolitical tensions despite the demand decline in US. And the gold prices also headed for a weekly gain, but the prices were slightly declined during Friday as due to the ease in dollar. And the copper prices and aluminum prices too headed for a weekly gain, but both of these metals, the outlook is somewhat dull due to the uncertainty caused by rising energy prices. And when it comes to international financial markets, majority of the world stocks headed for weekly gains, and that was due to the strong US corporate earnings coupled with the resumption of Russian gas flows to European region. However, the political tensions and the bigger than expected rate hike in European Central Bank just after 11 years somewhat tempered investor sentiment. And the European Central Bank has raised interest rates more than expected by over 50 basis points, and that unexpected raise is the official end of its policy of negative interest rate that has been in place since 2014. So Asian stocks, coupled with that, reported the best week in months on Friday, and despite the said aggressive rate hike by the European Central Bank. So overall, the market, the international, the investors are looking forward for Federal Reserve to meet and set interest rates in next week, and they are expecting for at least of a 75 basis points rate hike in the coming week. So, looking at the overall market sentiment, the global economy looks increasingly likely to be heading into serious slowdown, just as central banks aggressively increasing their policy rates. And even the statistics from Eurozone business activities resulted the contraction for the first time in this month. And together with that, if we look at the local context, Sri Lanka manufacturing and services indexes sector activities also declined during the month of June. So, both the international and the local economic context is somewhat gloomy. So, investors has to be very keen on making their investor decisions amid this kind of a turbulent time. So that's all from my end, and I would like to invite Harin to continue his presentation on technical analysis.
Thank you, Sachini. So let's look at US oil, what has happened during the past few days, and what's currently happening it through technical analysis. Where are the next demand zones and supply zones? So what we can see here is previously the daily resistance was a strong support level, which was initially a psychological area, $100, 102 in between. So the price managed to pull below the daily support level and making it a daily resistance now. Now officially it has become a daily resistance since the price is trading below the psychological area of 100. The RSI is still in the mid range since the market is still active and open. It goes as 39 at the moment. So one thing I wanted to explain clearly is that looking at the moving averages, which is first we would add the 50. So 50 previously we were able to see the price was actually initially making certain highs and trading above the 50 moving average, and also making significant highs above the level of 120. Suddenly we were able to see after making a high of 123, somewhat around 123, 124, the price managed to break the momentum and cross below the 50 moving average EMA and started trading below the 50 EMA. Now we'll add the 200 moving average, of course. So at the moment, the price seems to be struggling between the 200 EMA, in between the 200 EMA. So this usually gives us an indication that it is actually in between a demand and a supply zone. So because the 200 moving average is considered as a very strong support level at the moment, because whenever the price came below the moving average, we were able to see it pushes above the moving average again. So there's some sort of a demand over this area, especially 92, 94, and also the area of 96, 95, 96. So if in case the price fails to sustain over the 200 EMA, which would then it would likely that the daily support level 92, 94 would be firstly tested, and further 83, 85 would be further tested. And if we are to see a crossing between this 50 moving average and 200 moving average, if the 50 moving average comes from above and crosses 200 EMA, we might be able to see a golden crossover, which would indicate a strong bearish momentum in US oil. So that could initially happen. So long as the price is sustaining over the 200 EMA, we might be able to see it going towards the daily resistance 100, 102, and further upwards towards 110, 112. So this this is the technical outlook of it. And also we can see the price is currently trading in a descending formation, also in a descending channel. So this is the first scenario. If it comes below the 200 EMA, we would be able to see it going towards the daily support. Countless rejection from 200 EMA, and if it sustains above the 200 EMA, we might be able to see it going towards the psychological area of $100. So that's the technical outlook of US oil. Let's look at our CSC SPI or share index. Currently, the daily uh, RSI closed at 57.01 for the week ended 22nd July 2022. And at the moment, what we can see is from 18 and 8 moving averages, we had a slightly crossing over this area, somewhat around in 19th July, and the index managed to head towards the high of June 24th, which is considered as 7,694.64, and it is trading about that area. And we do have the 50 moving average coming once again. This the also somewhat below the daily resistance, so 915 8,000. In order to create, in order to maintain this momentum, especially this bullish momentum for the medium term, we might be able to we need to expect the index to break this 50 EMA and also this daily resistance 8,000. Then we'll be able to see the index moving towards the next couple of resistance that we have, especially 8,450, 8,500, and further 9,000. So that would only occur if the index manages to break 50 EMA and also sustain above 8,000 key level. If it fails to sustain over this 8,000 or test this 8,000 key area or break this EMA, we might be able to see some sort of a consolidation happening, especially known as ranging. So in this place of area 7,450 to 8,000, we might be able to see some sort of ranging happening over this key area. That's the technical outlook of SPI. And today's this week's top pick of the week would be Sunshine Holdings PLC. So looking at from the daily perspective, what we can see, the RSI has come to a level of 67.24. So still not in the overbought range, but it is getting closer to that overbought range. So by the time it reaches that daily resistance of 40, 42, we might be able to see some sort of a overbought happening over that area. So what we can clearly see from the past few days or past few weeks and the couple of months that we have let's start from April. So when we look at from April, we were having some sort of a consolidation where the price initially came to the level of 25.120, that key area 25 to 27 in between. So we had some sort of a consolidation happening over here, and the price reached the level of 40, 42, and then price managed to bounce back again and trade below the 40, 42 range and come towards the daily support level 25, 27 once again. And we had a strong declining trend over here, and we had a retest from this trend line, and now the price seems to be quite inclining towards the daily resistance 40, 42. Let's look at from our moving averages perspective. So looking at from our moving averages, from which is 18 and 8 that I have added to the daily chart, we had a slightly crossing previously, which indicated that there is a short-term bearish momentum. So now we have a crossing again, where the 8 moving average has crossed the 18 moving average from below, coming from below. And then what we can see here is, since the price is trading above the moving averages, there's slightly chance that the daily resistance 40.42 could be once again tested. Once again tested. That would be the initial outlook of Sunshine Holdings as well. I hope you all have a great weekend. Thank you very much.